Hey everyone, so I have some spare time today, so I'm going to show you how I've set up my network here at home. I'm a little bit of a tech freak myself, so some of you would seem like, hey, let's get some UBTQ stuff, I can't even pronounce it, or something more advanced or something like that, you know. I have not went for that simply because I think it's easier to have something that's a little more simple or downscale. And I don't really have the need for the complexity that like an UBTQ network would help me. But one of the things that's really nice with having like a UBTQ setup is that you actually get to learn this stuff and you're forced to use it, sort of. But I don't need it in my day-to-day work, although I think it's really cool and I think it's really nice to work with. I've made something completely or a lot simpler. So I went for an ASUS router setup, but I still use an inbuilt VPN inside of that, and I got a pihole setup as well. So the pihole is actually not run on a Raspberry Pi, it's run on a virtual server instead. But first of all, I'm going to show you how it looks like in real life, and you have to excuse me because it's a little bit messy here. Because we're rebuilding our house. It looks like this, honestly. It's a lot of stuff and a lot of cables, and it's not very managed as of now. But I have Comhem, which is a terrible internet provider, but it's the only one we got here, so I have no choice but to use them. They have a special connection, fiber coax cable that I need to connect to, so I need to use their router first. But I've set this router into bridge mode, so I don't need to use it as an actual router. It's just bridging over the WAN connection to my actual router, which is this. It's the ASUS AC86U, and I picked that one because it's very good it's very good for its price, and it's got I can pronounce it AESNI as a new instructions encryption, which means that you can run a VPN like OpenVPN on it without, requiring more hardware or like a dedicated CPU for that. From the beginning, I was actually thinking of building my own server or router from scraps of Socket 775 computers that I had laying around, but then I realized they don't have new instructions either, so I couldn't really use them either, or they would be very, very CPU heavy rather than that. So I got for this one as well. This is 1600 Swedish krona I spent on this. You can get them a lot more cheaper now on the holiday sales and stuff like that. But it's a very, very good router for that price, though it doesn't come with Wi-Fi 6 or AX. It still uses AC. I have an Apple TV here, of course, that's for the TV. I have a little Synology NAS and an IKEA trådfri bridge, so I can control my home. So the Apple TV has dual purposes. Of course, it's an Apple TV, but it also has HomeKit support, which means that I can program and use the trådfri to automatically schedule turning off and on lamps and stuff like that. So in that sense, it serves dual purposes. I also have this little box here, which is basically a NUC, but it's not a NUC. It's not an Intel NUC. It's just a small computer with an i3 processor. And I use that for running virtual machines. And it's pretty new. I think it's 2018 model. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's very small and doesn't take up a lot of space and runs 2 NVMe drives. So I got a 120 gig drive and a 256 drive, and I run Proxmox VE on it. And then I have a Chromecast audio for the music here. And that is, of course, an optical cable, right? I should have switched. Yeah, it's an optical cable. So I just run optical cables into this, but that's a whole other story. And as I said before, I run a lot of virtual stuff as well. So the router is really, really good because you can do a lot of things with it straight out of the box. So I'm going to show you exactly how my setup is made right here. And it's really nice because I have the feeble coax cable here, as I said, and then the command router, which I don't really like, and then I got AC86U running the VRT Merlin. So it's a custom firmware that you can Google on. That has some basic support for for most of the ASUS routers. And the best thing about this is that it's tweaks and fixes, but it's also introduced things like VPN before ASUS themselves did, and it's also 100% supported, and that's one of the best parts. So even if I would break my router or something with this custom firmware, it's still fully supported by ASUS. So it does not revoke your warranty if you load in a custom firmware, which I really like. It's a safety net that you honestly don't need because it's super simple to use and set up and configure it, but it's very nice knowing. So then inside of this I have a VPN, which is really nice, and I got 2 ways to connecting through the internet through this VPN. And the nice thing about this is that my fiance's devices, she doesn't want to run the VPN because some of her the things that she uses to watch videos on does not work with the VPN. And of course you can find another VPN that's not blocked by these services, but it's a whole mess, and I like Mulvad and I trust them and they have a really good speed. So I don't want to do that. So what I rather did is I just disconnected her devices and the Apple TV. So that's actually something I can do straight from the ASUS interface. So I can show you here if I go to the VPN client here, that I can pick which devices are going to WAN. So the default one is going through the VPN. So everything that's not specified here actually goes through the VPN. But for the Apple TV and apparently also my virtual machines, I thought they all went through the virtual machine. They all go through the WAN, and they still can connect to things inside of the cluster. So I can still talk, they can still talk, Apple TV can still talk with the Synology NAS, for example, and same with my laptop, even though they might or might not be on the VPN. And that's super nice, actually. I guess for some of you this is very straightforward, and of course it's going to be like this, but for those of you who are wondering, this actually works out of the box. There's nothing to worry about. So on top of it, I use a virtual machine, the little Nook there that I show you, and it's a Proxmox virtual engine. I think that's the name at least. I know it's Proxmox, but I don't know what VE stands for. So. And I have basically 2 images so far. I got an Ubuntu VM, Ubuntu server that runs a couple of Docker images that I use for various stuff like experimenting and stuff. And then I have a separate VM with pihole, also running Ubuntu server. And the cool thing about this is that devices on the WAN still uses pihole, which is really nice. So I got pihole installed on this, and all of the devices actually connect to pihole. I could actually disconnect them if I wanted to. But the way this is actually set up is, let me see. But I pinned a couple of these static IPs because, they're supposed to go through WAN instead, so then you need to pin the VPN or pin the IPs as well. But let me show you pihole as well. And pihole is really nice. I've been using it a lot. It takes some time setting up and getting it to work, but it's not super duper hard. I run it in a virtual machine, so it's the only thing running on that particular virtual machine, which makes it a lot easier. You can run it in Docker and stuff like that, but since it uses DNS protocols and you're supposed to connect it to it as a DNS server, I felt it was easier to just get its own virtual machine, like it's entirely own. I do mind privacy though, so I've actually edited a bit of the settings. So in this privacy settings, you can hide domains, display, and store all domains as hidden. So I can still see that there's activity, but I don't know what has been requested by whom, etc. And the nice thing about this is that because this is behind the VPN, that if I run DNS or a check for leaks, it will actually work. So as you can see, I use the Mullvad VPN, and my IP is not blacklisted, and there's no DNS leak, which is super nice. So that means that I don't need to configure. I can actually use whatever I want behind this server, because it's behind the VPN as well. So I actually use for the DNS, I use OpenDNS and Cloudflare. And normally that would mean I would have a leak if it was the router that connected and did the DNS. But since I run it in pihole, I don't need to worry about that at all. I have tried setting up DNS over HTTPS or SSL, but I didn't spend more than 10 minutes on it, and I didn't get it to work. So you can probably get that to work as well if you would like. But yeah, all in all, that's the network setup I run, and I'm super happy about it. And the nice thing about this is also that if there's any problem, you just restart the router basically. So, or if I'm not at home and someone's at home and have problems with the network, they can just plug and unplug the cable of the routers, both of them probably, and everything will probably just go back up. But honestly, I've never had a single problem with this setup. Once I got it to work, it was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning to get DNS and stuff to get to work, but now when everything's working with the VPN and everything like that, it works. It's pretty solid. It works very well. So the only problem is with Comhem, which is my internet service provider. Their quality is not super duper good. And for those of you who wonder if it's viable to actually run a VPN inside of the router, it is. That depends on what kind of speeds you want, but I actually let's see if we can get Bonoff server. I like those. Yeah, let's see. So I actually run this is inside of the router, and as you can see, I get a little bit over 200 megabits. I'm supposed to get up to 300 megabits. So if I disconnect the VPN, I would get around 300, I guess, something like that. And my up speed is terrible, so don't look at that. But so you can get over 200 megabits through the router alone if you use an AC86U or another ASUS router with AES new instructions. Just so you know. So perfect. I think that was it for this video. I know it's just a short video and just me talking about the network and a very quick setup. But yeah, if you have any questions, just drop them below and I'll answer them. And I'll link to some tutorials if you want to set up a network like this on your own. Yeah, that was it. Thank you.